My number two is The Blues Brothers from 1980. And this is directed by John Landis, starring John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. And the IMDb plot summary, Jake Blues rejoins his brother Elwood after being released from prison, but the duo has just days to reunite their old R&B band and save the Catholic home where the two were raised, outrunning the police as they tear through Chicago. This movie is on my list because while I was a fan and grew up around the music that this movie features, my parents, especially my mom, listening to a lot of 60s R&B soul music. So I knew who like Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles and James Brown were. And I'd listened to the music, but this movie, because they're all in it, brought to life these stars where I'd only really had a relationship with them through, an album cover and then listening to their music. This brings to life this music that I loved and got me even more into this type of music and just an appreciation for it. And it's one of my, again, soundtracks I listen to all the time. One of my favorite movies too. So just start off with a question for you had you seen this film before?
I had not seen this movie before.
Oh, really?
Obviously, always knew of it, and
Yeah.
I knew, Aretha's famous scene in the diner and with the song and all of that. And I love R&B music and soul music and such, but I'd never seen it.
Oh,
So it was fun to check it out. And two back-to-back John Landis movies after
that's right.
Trading
Yeah,
Places from our
that's
last
true.
episode on Money.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, John Landis definitely for me, like his movies shaped a lot of they're perennial. I mean, this movie is going to be on my top 5 movies I've seen the most in my life. Like I would always be on. Oh, growing up, would always be Blues Brothers all the time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Could have been, talked about in the comedy episode that we had last year as well. But yeah, so like for me, it was bringing to life these music stars. And also I sort of felt in the way that they were doing it where, Jake and Elwood, Aykroyd and Belushi, they weren't, they were sort of giving a spotlight to these stars to actually come and then perform their own music. Yes, they're not like a tribute band, though they do play, obviously R&B music. They didn't write their own music. They were a band that existed to do covers. But the way that they have reverence and the way that these stars are treated in this movie, where they come on and it's very clear these are important giant legends that are, you're sort of in honor to be in a scene with. That I felt a lot in the similar way with like Jake and Elwood, just sort of sitting back and watching them perform. There's so many great scenes, and then just you see them in the background, just sitting there watching like Aretha at the diner, which is I think the highlight of the movie for me. That scene is just so incredible. She just blows the doors off. Even better than the original recording of that song, in my opinion, from the 60s is her version in this film. And you just see them kind of be back there just like, whoa, like she's killing it. And that's how I feel too. Like when I'm watching some of these, these old legends like Aretha and Ray Charles and, John Lee Hooker and the whole Cab Calloway scene at the end too, which I was someone I hadn't actually heard of before. And he was a giant, force in music back in the day and in film too. So it was great to see that, be introduced to me as well, and not only the music that is in the movie in terms of the performances, but even the music that just played like in the background, the tracks that they have on during the car chases got me into a lot more music. Sam and Dave, they were listening to a lot. I got into them through this film, big, soul duo. So I think that both the in film and the out of film music that they use is brilliant because all those tracks aren't on the soundtrack. Like you listen to the soundtrack, it's all the performances from the movie. They don't have the songs that they play, during the film, which also I think work really well too. And the driving sequences, especially, I think this is a great, the Peter Gunn theme is great just for putting it on. Sometimes I'm in the car, I'm like, I got to throw that on when I'm driving. And obviously all those incredible car chases through the mall, the big chase at the end, the music works so well. And in terms of the film, like, again, I've praised it a lot. I just think that, they're two dirtbags who don't really, I mean, I guess they kind of get redemption because they do give the money to the church at the end, but they're not good people. And the movie's not trying to pretend that they are. They treat everyone kind of like crap, except for their band, or not even their band. Actually, they don't treat very well either. Just each other, right? There's a love that they have for each other and the music. And those are really the two things that matter to them, and everything else they could, they could take it or leave it, which I think is, not the best qualities to have, but at least, again, the movie doesn't try to say these people are good people. I mean, they get thrown in prison at the end, is the end of the movie. They pay for all their crimes, but they are doing a good deed. And the love of music of these two characters definitely comes through, which is, I also love the music as much as they do. So it's always fun to watch them in this performance.
Yeah, no, it was really fun to check it out, and the music is amazing. The music is the star, and I love how you put it that the movie knows that the lead characters know that too, that they're in the reverence and the glow of these great artists.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing was that this movie needs to be like 3 times faster than it is, which I think it's sort of hard to drop into a movie like this that you haven't seen and you haven't grown up with, especially after watching something like Trading Places, which is just so, magnetically paced.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is not that. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's the point. You're supposed to luxuriate in the music and, every star that you're going to meet and what have you. But at the same time, from a plot standpoint and the fact that this is, a comedy and a movie about these two oddball people, I don't know. I somehow expected this movie to be a lot faster. Instead, you sort of sit with these people. So that was my only thing that I found myself tuning out. But then I was pulled back in by the music, every time I kind of wandered off.
Yeah, I mean, Landis
feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, Landis definitely has a slower pace. Just even Animal House and Coming to America, these aren't like very, very fast comedies.
But they feel appropriate. I don't know. This one felt a lot slower to me for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, it's a road trip movie, and those also can be a little like, there's not, the plot is just, getting to a show, which I also love those types of movies too. Though
True.
I like this movie because the show happens at the end of the second act. It's a whole third act where they have to do the, a giant car chase. So typically that's the big finale, right? When the performance, but I definitely can see you on the slowness factor. Yeah. Cause you're sort of, I think they wanted you to kind of sit back and like take in kind of what's going on. There is actually a longer cut. There's a director's cut that's like 20 to 30 minutes longer that I think is way too slow. Like, not the one. I would definitely track down the theatrical cut. Maybe you stumbled upon the wrong version too.
No, I watched the theatrical one.
Okay, good. Yeah. It just adds so much padding to the movie that I don't think needs to be there. But I get what you mean. It's definitely a very it's got one gear, I think, and it just kind of goes that gear through I guess a couple of big moments, like the big performance at the hall, and then again Aretha Franklin's Think, I think, is definitely a highlight. But yeah, it doesn't really kick into a higher gear, even though there's like 1,000 crazy car chases and car crashes in it. But I get what you're saying about up at the pace for sure. Yeah.
But super fun. But yeah, the Aretha scene is the showcase of the movie, and
I think so too.
I kept thinking I wish she had done more of film acting. I haven't seen her do anything else. Maybe she has, but yeah.
She's in this. There was a terrible sequel to this movie that she was in, but actually I remember reading that she struggled a lot with that scene because she had to lip sync to her own track, and she sort of improvises every time she sings. So it was a huge struggle for her to do that because she can't, like, I don't know if it's not faking the performance, but it's like lip syncing to herself. She had a lot of problems with it. So maybe that's something where she's like, I don't want to have to deal with this. I just like singing live and singing in a recording booth. Like, this is not something, I don't want to go down the Diana Ross path of becoming an actress, but she does a great job in this movie. Again, that scene is just so great. So great. But cool. Glad you finally saw this movie.
Me too.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.